Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. This is Tej, and today I will be talking about the 8 books that I read in the month of August. So I don't know if you guys go through this, but I go through book slumps quite often, in which case I don't want to read any new book. I may have tons of books waiting for me or tons of books on my TBR, but I don't want to read them. So in that case, I do end up rereading a lot, which I feel like this month I did reread a few of my favorite books, and I will go over that with you guys. Do you guys reread also, or do you get into book slumps, and what do you do to get out of them? So the month started off with me reading the follow-up to this book. This is The Hurricane Wars, and I just want to thank Harper Voyager for sending me ARC copies of both of these. So I loved this book when it first came out last year. It was fantasy, dark versus light, kind of Star Wars-esque. It followed around Alaric and Alison. One is a light weaver and one is a dark weaver. There was an arranged marriage in this one, tons of tension. So I really liked it. And it also had South Asian owned voices, which I loved in this case. And I couldn't wait to read the follow-up. So the follow-up is a Monsoon Rising. This book, I believe it comes out, here it says December. So I believe it comes out in December of 2024. But this book pretty much picks up right where the Hurricane Wars falls off. And so Alaric and Alison are now married. Are they going to go through with this marriage, or is it more of a marriage of convenience? Tons of banter, tons of tension. I do feel like this book, it was primarily romance focused. So it was heavy on the romance, not so much at the fantasy level, which is, I feel like this one, it was more of the fantasy world building, which I really enjoyed. So I feel like I was missing some of that in this book. I still really enjoyed it, and I flew through. I'm excited to see where the series is going next, and I'm eager to read the next book in the series. So this was the first book I started the month with, A Monsoon Rising, which was an arc, and it comes out in December. And then I went on to read the Briar U University books from Elle Kennedy. And if you know, I probably post about these books way too much in my shorts, but I love the deal, and I love the off-campus books. They're some of my favorite books by Elle Kennedy. Briar U is a continuation, not a continuation, but I am kind of a second generation of the off-campus series. So I went ahead, and the play and the chase were both new to me. The Risk was a reread, which I loved even more the second time around. I actually bumped up my rating from 4 to 5. I loved Jake and Brenna. They were so funny and so good to each other. I love rivals, kind of enemy-ish, because he plays for the opposite team. And so that was a really good one. But I enjoyed all 3 of these. So if you are a hockey romance fan, I would suggest to read these books. They were really good. Then I also ended up reading the If Love series by Anna Huang, which there are actually 4 books in this series. I've only read 3 yet. The first 2 books in the series are actually a duology that follow the same couple, Farah and Blake, and they are both studying abroad in Singapore. They end up meeting each other, kind of falling really fast and hard, and then they end up breaking up. And so they break up at the end of book 1. In book 2, it's 5 years later, second chance. Are they going to make it? I love angsty books, and I feel like Anna Huang does such a good job. I'm a huge fan of hers, and so I really liked these 2 books. The other book I read, I skipped book 3. I know, I do that. I skip around series if they are standalone series. Do you do that too, or is it just a me thing? Anyways, I love it. And so I ended up reading book 4, which is called If We Were Perfect. And this follows Olivia and Sammy, who also fell in love in Singapore at the same time as these couples did. Came back to the States, were still together, and then something happened and they broke apart. And so will they find their way back to each other? Kind of forced proximity. So I really like this series. I'm excited to read book 3 in the series, which is called If Love Had a Price. I also had an opportunity to listen to the audiobook of The Wedding People by Alison Espach. Thank you, LibroFM, for giving me an opportunity to listen to an advanced listener copy. I honestly was not sure what to expect with this book. I kind of went in blind, not really knowing too much about it. The basic gist of it is there's this lady and she is a professor, and she finds out that her husband has been cheating on her, and so she doesn't have the will to live any longer and goes to this hotel where she plans to unalive herself, but there's a wedding taking place, and everybody at the hotel is part of the wedding party, and so everybody assumes that she's part of the wedding party also, but she is not. And so on a weird chance encounter, she meets the bride, and they end up kind of hitting it off, and she ends up not going through with unaliving herself, and therefore a bond is formed. But it's more than that. It's about grief and happiness, and it's not my usual read. There was some romance in it, but it's not a heavy part of the book. But I really, really love this book, and the audio is fantastic. So if you are an audiobook listener, I highly recommend the audiobook of The Wedding People. I don't have it in print because I am not the biggest fan of hard books and hardbacks, and right now it's only available as a hardback, so I'm waiting for it to come out in paperback, and then I will purchase it. But I really, really, really love this book, so I would highly recommend it. So these are the books that I ended up reading in the month of August. I wanted to say October, but it's not October yet. These are the books that I ended up reading in the month of August. Did we end up reading any of the same books? Have you read any of these, or are you looking forward to reading the Monsoon Rising? If you have read the Hurricane Wars, let me know in the comments.